If you are not familiar with what a liminal space image is, I highly recommend that you just watch my original video on finding the locations of popular liminal spaces. It should pop up on the screen right about now, so you should definitely check that out if you haven't already. I'd also like to take this time to apologize to all of the angry British people who left comments on my first video of how to properly pronounce Heathrow Airport. You best believe that I'm never calling it the Heathrow Airport ever again. With that being said, I think it's time that we dox the real-life locations of liminal, nostalgic, dreamlike, creepy, surreal, and strangely familiar spaces. In my last video, I covered the classic liminal space image, the end. I was able to water everything down to only find out that this picture was taken at a closed down Borders bookstore, but I couldn't find which Borders location it exactly was. Shortly after I uploaded my original liminal space video, I get an email from someone called Panzer Hund, and they had this to say. In your video about liminal space locations, you mentioned that you do not know where the place is located, only that it's a Borders bookstore. A while back, I came across a video or Reddit post or something like that. Apparently, this is a Borders bookstore off of Interstate 5, next to a railway and an Outback Steakhouse in Orange County, California. Thanks to this person's email, I was able to form some sort of lead. I looked into that Borders bookstore location in Orange County, California, and found a review page on Yelp from 2011. The only useful image that was taken inside of the bookstore is this right here, and the architecture looks awfully similar to the one found in the liminal space image. My only complaint is that the pillars seen in this picture are red, while the ones in the end are green. Unfortunately, the Borders bookstore that was once in Orange County, California is not our match. After this, I looked around on Google Images for a bit and came across this page that was made back on April 6, 2011. On this page is a picture of an alternate angle of the end. I quickly found out that this website borrowed the image from an old BuzzFeed article, so I was able to use the Wayback Machine to see what was on BuzzFeed back in 2011. While the website isn't completely functional at all, I can still see the original BuzzFeed post that had the classic liminal space picture. From here, BuzzFeed had linked the original source back to a Reddit post made on April 4th, 2011. The Reddit post says, "Saw this at my local Borders. This icon of liminal space and backroom photography originated from this Reddit post, at least this angle." Anyway, the top comment to this post says, "Would that happen to be at the block of Orange in California?" To which OP says, Yorba Linda, California. The address for this location is 22401 Old Canal Road in Yorba Linda, California. Nowadays, the Borders bookstore is now a Sprouts Farmers Market. This popular liminal space photo has been floating around the internet for almost 4 years now, and it's easily one of the most shared around pictures in the Backrooms niche. I was able to dig up a 3-year-old Reddit post that reads 5 more minutes, with this picture accompanied with it. Initially, I'm not too sure what to make out from this image. Is this a restaurant or factory of some sort? It's pretty surreal to look at and feels very artificial. Looking at the top comment on the Reddit post says, "Is this like a children's museum?" To which the person who made the post says, "So whenever I visited my grandma, who lived in Chicago when I was younger, we'd go to a children's museum at Navy Pier. Since that place brought a lot of memories, I decided to Google a picture of somewhere inside the museum. This picture was one of them, so I cropped out the white space and posted it here. When following the link they provided, it leads us to the Chicago Children's Museum in Chicago, Illinois." A comment on my last video talked about a mall they lived close to. The mall was called the White Flint Mall, and is most famous in the liminal space community for this picture. From the neon lights that outline the ceiling to the overall outdated 80s, 70s mall aesthetic, this place is a moment in time that's been long forgotten, and it seems very lonely but just as inviting. Unfortunately, Inbred Duck says that the mall ended in a big fight over ownership and eventually met its demise by being demolished. This was the White Flint Mall in North Bethesda, Maryland, and may it rest in liminality. I would say that around 2020 is when the liminal space genre of photography first went mainstream and got that major boost of popularity. Around this time, there were many popular images that were shared around more than others. There were the classic Gabrielle Traversat images, the Heathrow Hotel picture, I'm joking, but I also remember this one. What seems to be an ordinary picture of a birthday party room at some sort of arcade or play place, this picture makes me feel very nostalgic. Unlike other liminal spaces that aim to be creepy or dreadful, this empty and lonely party room is very inviting, and it makes me wish to be a kid again. Anyway, this picture was quite easy to find. If you look on the back wall, you can see a very visually disgusting banner that reads, "Jumping Jack's Fun Zone." A simple Google search later, and this is without a doubt, Jumping Jack's Fun Zone in Fort Myers, Florida. If you're still watching the video, I just want to say thank you, it really means a lot. I'm gonna hand the mic over to the great YouTuber Zeepster, so be sure to stick around.
Hey guys, it's Zeep. You know, recently I made a video about abandoned aesthetics, and one of the segments in that video is about liminal spaces. Today I'd like to talk about a couple of liminal space images that are really bizarre, but they're so weird that I really want to know their origins. For one, I started with the Toshiba space chair image. The image is pretty wild. It's a chair in the middle of space, but the origins to this is kind of funny. In the year 2009, Toshiba, you know, the laptop and computer company, made an advertisement, and where it begins with a panning shot of a bleak desert, with an armchair in the foreground, followed by a crew attaching a weather balloon on the armchair, with the chair beginning to ascend upwards into the sky, and GPS sounds in the background. Ambient music plays as it goes further and further from the reaches of Earth's atmosphere. Suddenly, we are found with an image of the air alone in space. With an advertisement budget of $3.7 million US, we are greeted with a truly beautiful liminal space image. It is revealed that the entire ad is for a TV, stating that the armchair viewing has been redefined. The idea of launching the chair into the upper atmosphere wasn't exactly original. Artist Simon Faithfull actually made a short film titled Escape Vehicle Number 6, released in 2004, showing another chair entering space. It was pretty similar in its premise to the Toshiba commercial. So much so that Toshiba wanted to borrow from this premise and create their own thing with a higher budget. The chair ascended from the Nevada desert. A crew of engineers designed a 4-pound rig that included a biodegradable balsa wooden chair with 8 HD cameras attached to the helium balloon. Not only that, but advertisers had to conform with Federal Aviation Administration regulations by making sure the rig wasn't too heavy, weighing no more than 4 pounds. By the end of the ad, the balloon pops, leading to the chair to be destroyed, and descending all the way back down to the Earth's atmosphere. The American Southwest has a very liminal feeling towards it. I don't know about you, but there's something so bizarre to me. It might be this image, and maybe the sidewalk right next to all these amazing natural rocky structures from the earth, complemented with a stop sign, but something about it just seems sort of unnatural, in a good way. Monument Valley is located between 2 states, Utah and Arizona. The Monument Valley stop sign image gives a lot of people nostalgia, probably because it reminds them of an old Wile E. Coyote cartoon. You know, the Looney Tune cartoon with the Roadrunner. It may be a simple image, but it really is bizarre, because it's really 2 things meeting. The naturalness and beauty of the Monument Valley with a stop sign associated with cars. Something that's obviously man-made. It also includes the emptiness of the desert, showing that nothing else remains but just these rocks. Albeit, they are beautiful rocks. Returning back to civilization, or really lack thereof, we have the Edward Scissorhands neighborhood image. You know, the picture with all those houses in pastel colors? Yeah, this image is from Edward Scissorhands, released in 1990, and is a candy-colored suburbia. With bright green lawns and big pink and light green houses, the image is oddly nostalgic. It would look like this image was created in Hollywood, but believe it or not, this neighborhood was real, and it really still is. It just isn't painted that way anymore. It is located in Tinsmith Circle in Lutz, Florida. Tinsmith Circle in Lutz, Florida was chosen as it reminded Edward Scissorhands screenwriter Caroline Thompson about similar quaint housing complexes that she grew up around in. Of course, the houses were just painted that way for the film, as well as the cars, which were spray painted. Going to something a little more sadder, we have the DashCon Ball Pit. One of my favorite liminal space images of all time, because of the wacky story behind it. So Tumblr, if you remember, it had its heyday in the mid-2010s, being a popular blogging website. Eventually, the website gained so much traction to build a community. The community of Tumblr wanted to have a convention, so they raised $4,000 via an Indiegogo campaign. And in the second weekend of July 2014, in Schaumburg, Illinois, history was made. So people of Tumblr paid $65, showed up, and found that there was really nothing to do. I mean, there was a games room, it had one TV and one console, but you have to keep something in mind. 5,000 people showed up. Apparently a podcast called Welcome to Night Vale was supposed to show up to the event, but they didn't show up as a result of a misallocation of funds by the event coordinators. Yeah, things were looking pretty bad. People wanted their money back, and as soon as people wanted their money back, DashCon started to freak out and changed the rules on their website, saying that no refunds were allowed. They did offer one thing though to try to make this up to people. They offered an extra hour in the ball pit. That's right, DashCon had a ball pit. And where this famous image is from. Online, the ball pit was displayed as the main attraction to the entire event. Much like the entire event, seeing the ball pit all alone is just so sad to look at, and brings nothing but pain really. Anyways, that's enough from me. Let's take it back to Jaden. And also, subscribe to Zeepsterd.
On July 28th, 2021, a Redditor posted this: "Kids' playroom at the hotel I'm staying at." The image shows a very surreal playroom, with the walls and ceiling painted like a skybox from a video game. Without the presence of children playing around and having fun, and with how artificial and surreal the skybox look is, this makes up for a very liminal space. I looked in the comments of the post and nobody ever said where this picture was taken, so I used reverse image search and quickly found that this was taken at the Maumee Bay State Park in Ohio. Oh god, I'm about to get so many only in Ohio comments. It's not funny! The public room is an exhibit at the Ooms Gallery in Rotterdam, Netherlands. Artist Giuseppe Licari is the one who designed and created this surreal environment. The vibes are very odd by itself, but even with the presence of people around, it's still strange to look at. Unfortunately, all the pictures and articles I read that talk about the public room are from around 2013, and I'm not exactly sure if the exhibit is still around in today's time. This very peculiar and desolate room makes for a great liminal and creepy space. The carpet and overall decor of the room is very outdated, and you can even spot what seems to be a leg on the outside of the door. I've seen this image quite a few times when looking at liminal space compilations, and I'm pretty happy that I can place a name and story to this one in particular. I know it's a bit of a cheat code and very repetitive at this point, but the search for liminal space images usually starts with using the reverse image search feature, and that's exactly what I used for this entry. After doing this, I quickly found out that this screenshot is taken from a movie called Elephant. I bought it on YouTube, and at 15 minutes and 40 seconds into the film, the infamous image plays out in real time. While I'm talking about Elephant, I'd just like to say that this film was a lot to take in. I honestly didn't expect anything that I watched. And while I didn't find anything too special or enjoyable about the movie, I lightly recommend it. But you know, trigger warning for school shooting related stuff. Anyway, this film was shot at, wait, wrong choice of words. This film was filmed at the Whitaker Middle School in Portland, Oregon. The school was eventually torn down in 2007 due to high levels of radon. Radon is an odorless, invisible, radioactive gas naturally released from rocks, soil, and water. Radon can get into homes and buildings through small cracks or holes and build up in the air. Over time, breathing in high levels of radon can cause lung cancer. Apparently, the radon leak had been known about since as early as 2001, so it's probably for the best that the school no longer exists. I also found this 16-year-old YouTube video of some hooligans vandalizing the school after it shut down, and it's pretty crazy to watch. First off, I wanted to find this image so bad for part 1 of this series. There's something about this liminal space in particular that I'm so attached to. I could go into detail of how this picture makes me feel, but I'm gonna cut to the chase because why not? After uploading my original video, I got into contact with someone over Discord called Polly. We discussed the locations of many different liminal space images, and I'll be sure to reference them for future episodes in the series because they dug deep on many different pictures. Anyway, the main text that caught my eye was this one in specific. Polly managed to find many different angles of this iconic liminal space picture, and said that it was taken at a place called Worlds of WoW. I looked into Worlds of WoW, and I quickly found out that they're responsible for designing and creating playgrounds and play structures like this one I'm showing. Worlds of WoW does have a place of business in Denton, Texas, but after many minutes of searching through Google Images and YouTube videos, it doesn't seem like this liminal space is on the Denton, Texas property. Now it's time to dig deeper. I eventually stumbled onto World of WoW's Pinterest page and saw a plethora of interior designing for children's play places. As I scrolled down the Pinterest page, I eventually found the image we were searching for, so that lets us know that Worlds of WoW from Denton, Texas definitely created this room. While I got to see a bigger layout and extensive view of the playground from World of WoW's Pinterest page, it didn't ever say where these photos were taken. Before I move on, keep this exact picture in mind, as it'll be very useful in just a second. The taste of victory was on the tip of my fingertips, but the answers weren't showing themselves just yet. So I went on Google Images and I threw out a lucky search. Worlds of WoW interior. I scrolled down for just a second and then I saw something that caught my eye. A Worlds of WoW blog had popped up on the Google Images with a thumbnail that resembled the play place I was looking at just before. I clicked on the picture and it took me to a Worlds of WoW blog post. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
We got him.
We recently completed an incredible New Kids Ministry facility for Mid-Cities Church in Midland, Texas. This blog, which was hiding in plain sight, held the answers to all of this picture's mysteries. For one last time, this picture was taken at the Mid-Cities Church in Midland, Texas. In my original liminal space video, I had shown a variety of images when explaining the definition of what liminal spaces are. Throughout the introduction, I flashed this image on the screen for a short period of time. Aside from the grainy quality of the picture and the bleak designs on the carpet, wall, and pillars, the room looks very awkward due to how tall the lobby is. There's so much blank space, and it only leaves room for shadows and emptiness. Similar to other entries on the list, I received many comments saying that they recognized this very image, and that it was taken at the AMC Theater in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey. I looked into this more, and I can confirm that the AMC Theater in New Jersey is a complete match to this liminal picture. I've also seen different angles of the theater on the liminal space subreddit, and it looks very lonely. The George Bush Airport in Houston, Texas is a hotspot for many different liminal space images. I believe this one is the most popular of all, but then you have these subset of pictures that are just as liminal and maybe just as popular. I'd imagine that most airports can provide the feelings you get from looking at a liminal space photo, but for whatever reason, the George Bush Airport is more shared around than others. If you're still watching until this very point of the video, that probably means that I did a good job at keeping you guys entertained and informed, so feel free to drop a like for my very hard work. I can honestly say that I wouldn't enjoy making YouTube videos if I didn't have an audience to watch them, so I'm unimaginably grateful for all the new subscribers and supporters I've received in the last couple of weeks. I'm also thankful for none other than Zeepsterd for helping me out on this one. This guy makes some very interesting and entertaining content, so you should definitely binge watch all of his videos after this. Once again, I'd just like to thank everybody for the new support I've been receiving. It's so awesome to see, and I'm not gonna lie, I feel pretty bad that I can't respond to everybody's comments, but just know that I am seeing them and they mean so much to me. Anyway, I plan on making more videos for this series, but I'd also like to explore some other fun and informational content that I'm more interested in, so be sure to stick around and watch out for that. I'd like to give a shout out to Mustlord for providing the very dreamy and atmospheric background music for this video. You can check out their Bandcamp in the description. Expect a new video relatively soon, but while you're waiting on that, you could always support me on my Patreon for many exclusive and early access videos.
Dallas, Texas, Jaden Salads, we are live in the flesh. Look how liminal this is. What is this? If you think that's liminal, what is this?
Shout out to the people on my Patreon as always: Jera, The Good Bunch, Master Shake, Bella M, Misazaki, Cher, Sinful, and Josh S. You guys are the freaking best.